Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are. I'm aware there's people on many continents around the world, and it's wonderful to see you all. We're just going to wait a few moments just to make sure that everyone can filter in. But a very, very warm welcome from a very, very cold Oxford to wherever you are in the world to this welcome event. Season's greetings to all of you. If I could encourage you, please, this is an interactive session. If you do have a camera that you can switch on, it would be great to see all of your faces. I've seen all of your faces, but I'm very keen to introduce you to some very important people who you'll be getting to know more and more over the course of the event. I'm going to keep an eye on the waiting room as people come in, but let's make a formal start because we have plenty to get through.
Hello.
Welcome everyone.
Can I call you back?
Diploma. Oh, sorry. Was someone asking me a question there? No, okay, maybe it's just someone not on mute. Sorry. Welcome everyone to your welcome event for the Executive Diploma in Global Business 2024. I'd like to start by sincerely congratulating you all, because the reason you're attending this call is because you've received an offer to join this program in 2024. I've spoken to most, if not all of you throughout that process, and you've all done wonderfully well to get this far. So congratulations. The purpose of today's event really is, first of all, to meet each other, and we'll have the opportunity to do that a bit later on in the call. But more pressingly and more importantly, it is my pleasure to introduce you to two very important people in the life of this program. The first is the program director, Professor Mari Sacco, who will shortly be giving you a program introduction and an overview of what to expect and a welcome. And then the program manager, Joanna Francis, who will be by your side as you navigate your way through your Oxford Diploma journey. A very important person. Joanna's introduction will be a lot more practical about the things that you can do between now and joining your diploma to make sure you get off to a good start. Also on the call is my colleague Magda Brown, who I'm sure many of you would have spoken to. Magda will be monitoring the chat, and this is an interactive session, and there will, after the presentations from Mari and Joanna, be a chance for you to ask any burning questions that you have. You can put them in the chat during the event, or you can save them for that session after the introductions. So I mentioned that it's interactive, so without further ado, let's open up for some interaction to kick things off. Now, I'm sure there's a number of reasons why you all would like to attend this diploma. And so as more people join in the waiting room, which is brilliant. The question, what aspects of the diploma program are you most looking forward to? I wonder, does someone want to bravely unmute themselves, briefly introduce themselves, and let everyone know what aspect are you most looking forward to at this stage?
I'll go. Hi, everyone.
Hi,
my name is Jay. I'm in sunny Cape Town. And what I'm looking forward to is meeting all of you and just learning and growing professionally and just individually, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jay. Before we go to anyone else, I forgot to say that this session is being recorded. And the reason for that is because if anyone has to drop off or if anyone's had to miss the call, they can catch up afterwards. But hopefully you're all okay with this being recorded. I wonder, does somebody else want to quickly introduce themselves, say where they are? Saidu, I notice you've got your hand in the air. Go for it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Saidu Ba. I'm from Guinea. I'm a lawyer, basically, specialized in working in natural resource and mining industry. So I'm looking forward to meeting all of you.
Yes.
In January. But my main purpose is currently in a career transition. So I'm more interested in the business management side of this diploma, and hopefully I will get the most of it and become a business manager than a pure lawyer. So that's the objective from my side.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Some very specific reasons. Let's have one more contribution at this stage. 3 is a good number. One more person introducing themselves and telling us why you're excited.
I can go. Hello, Joseph.
Hello. I can't quite see who's talking. Oh, Marco. Hello. Yes.
Hello. I'm Marco. I'm from Portugal. I work in the hospitality industry. I own a hotel chain, and what I most look for this diploma is to increase my networking and get to know how many world organizations work. So I think it's going to be quite interesting to attend this diploma.
Thank you, Marco. Brilliant. And thank you, everyone. For those that joined late, welcome. You're very welcome to the call. Okay, so before we hear from Professor Sacco, I'm just going to very quickly, in a couple of minutes, introduce you to your class. This is actually an image of a previous class that graduated a couple of weeks ago at the wonderful Sheldonian Theatre. So I thought I would use that picture from a very wonderful day. Now, some of the statistics you're going to see here are not finalized. The deadline was yesterday, and there are still people working through applications. Hopefully, we can add to some of the metrics that you see over the next couple of slides. But as I spoke at length until you were exhausted of hearing from me about how diverse the class is, hopefully we can demonstrate that to some extent. So now this is where your 2023 class are traveling from, split up into regions. Now, this isn't citizenship. We actually have people representing every continent. This is where people will be traveling from. So the best represented is Asia. It's the largest continent. I suppose it would be logical that we have the most students traveling from there. There's a healthy representation traveling across the Atlantic. And a similar amount traveling from Africa and Europe, which is wonderful. And about a quarter, just under, of the class are based in the UK. No one is bravely traveling from as far as Latin America or Oceania, but there are people that represent those parts of the world traveling from other places. But it's not only about where people are from, but it's what are they involved with. And there are some other perspectives here, which gives you a flavor of the class. I have put in the box there some of the sectors being represented. We have as many as 15 different employment sectors represented in the class. Lots of founders, managing directors, people in senior roles. I've also included some of the companies represented around the edge. You may be able to spot your own company. I hope I've used the latest logo. Someone previously had a go at me for using an old logo here, so apologies if that's you. Also on the right hand side, the average age. Now we offer 5 executive diplomas, and the average age normally falls between 39 to 42. And as you can see here, so does this class. But that doesn't tell the whole story, and there's actually a broad age range. So if you're at any part of this scale, you're certainly not an outlier. And there should, with this level of experience, this level of diversity, and this broad spectrum of experience, be a very, very interesting class to be a part of. Hopefully you all agree. Finally, I just thought, for the record, I know you've seen these dates so many times, you would have all had them in an email from me, seen them on the website, but just to be absolutely sure, this is the schedule for the 2024 Diploma in Global Business. These are the dates where you could be booking your flights, booking hotels. I imagine many of you already have. These dates are set in stone. And then that picture you saw of those students graduating, you can look forward to that at some point in 2025, very likely to be in July or August 2025, not quite yet confirmed. But I just thought, so there's no avoidance of, for full avoidance of doubt, here are the times you'll be with us in Oxford next year. So hopefully that gave you a bit of a good introduction, very brief though, of the class. And with that, I would like to hand over, it's my pleasure to do so, to Professor Murray Sacco, your Programme Director.
Great, thank you, Joe. And maybe we could unshare the screen, given that I have no slides. And delivering a diploma of this sort is a team sport. So, there's Joe, who's really ensured that you're all here. And then there's Joanna that you'll hear from. There's a whole bunch of other people that you get to know. And it really is a pleasure to welcome you in January. But for now, I want to also repeat my congratulations. It's no easy feat to firstly motivate yourself to apply to a program like this when most of you are full-time employed. So time management, I think, will be quite a challenging thing. Maybe some of you are really good at it already. But many, many congratulations for, first deciding to apply, but firstly for being accepted. Just a little bit about myself. I've been the academic director for this program from the beginning, which started in 2011. So I'm hoping that you'll actually benefit from the learning that we've had every year from previous cohorts. I personally have been in Oxford for longer than that, about double the length of that. So I am Japanese by nationality. I have grown up in Japan, but also in Egypt and Lebanon and the UK, in the US. So I hope that I add to the internationalism of the student body. And much of what you'll be doing is very much about learning from each other. And so I think this networking that you're going to be beginning even today, I think is really important because you will obviously have instructors that you'll listen to, but you'll learn so much more from each other. And it will be a very interactive set of classes. Most of the time, you'll probably talk to each other as much as to pose questions or interact with instructors. What I try to do also in the design of the program is to bring in academic instructors like myself, not just from within the business school. You'll get plenty of people who do strategy and organization, but from outside. So we'll invite a political theorist. We might also have an anthropologist coming in, psychologists, and different kinds of related disciplines that would help us inform various aspects of what we feel you need to know as well. Together with that, I have some guest speakers who are in the business of practice or policy. So they will bring to the classroom their accumulated expertise and experience and knowledge about how they think of being effective in their workplace. And so it's a combination of academic rigor and practice insights, which I hope will be something that you can digest and take home and will be useful for yourself. Now, I want to just spend a bit of time going through the content of the modules. We'll have plenty of time when you arrive to dig deeper, but I think it's just worthwhile, getting a broad idea of what what in effect I hope is an exciting program and a novel program a little bit. So I want to kind of emphasize what might be different from what you've learned. I know that some of you might have done an MBA some time ago or other kind of programs in management, short courses and all that. So I'll just try and emphasize the uniqueness in the design of this. And so as Joe has just said, it will be 4 modules and the final assignment. The first module is going to be on global strategy. So particularly if you have already done a management course like an MBA or an executive MBA, this will be sort of a refresher course. But assuming that that was some years ago, you would have read in newspapers that we are now living in a very turbulent world where there's geopolitical conflict, not just in Ukraine, but in the Middle East and other parts of the world. And there's great uncertainty around it. And so people started talking about deglobalization, right, rather than globalization, with borders, shutting and or crossing borders becoming a lot more difficult than in the past, when we took it for granted that the world was becoming flatter and that everywhere in the world, people would think and behave and do business and conduct their day-to-day affairs as though it was just anywhere. It doesn't really matter. That's not the world. It's a very bumpy world. And so global strategy in that context is not just about assessing your business environment, but very much about assessing what we call the non-market environment, where there are actors like the state, and also activist NGOs and other kinds of organizations that might come into your field, and actually you have got to take account of them. You've got to actually proactively think about how to react to them as well. So we'll talk about market and non-market environment and how to think about strategy there. So that's really module 1 on global strategy. The next module on risk and reputation, as the title indicates, is really focused on how businesses should think about dealing with risk and reputation. There are 2 strands to here, this particular module. One is really a deep dive, I think, into thinking about leadership qualities that you should have as current or potential leaders. Those qualities that would enable you to be effective in this turbulent world. Okay, and the label for leadership could be, if you've done any courses on leadership, words like authenticity and empathy and things like that as well. But we really can try and break it down, and then we won't do coaching per se, but you can take away the areas that you feel are good at, but also areas where you might actually can work on. So that's sort of the one part of it. The second part of it is thinking about the future, and we'll engage you in scenario planning thinking, so that we can attempt to not predict, but to anticipate possible futures in the world, and so that you can be better prepared for that. And we'll ask some of you actually to bring your own company background and cases, so that they become the subject for thinking about scenario planning. Okay, so that's quite exciting, and that might actually give you some concrete help, particularly if you're in charge of a particular section of a company, or you actually have a venture that you're working on. We'll create concrete scenarios for that. Now, the third module, which actually happens to be my favorite, is called corporate diplomacy. And this is a module which makes you think through the organization, the firm, as more of a political actor. And the easiest way to convey what this is all about maybe is to think about rules and regulations which are around out in the world. I want you all to think of these rules and regulations as not fixed out there that you react to, but something that you can influence. And this kind of influencing mentality is very important, particularly when the rules are not satisfactory and or they don't exist. So think about debates around privacy, for example. Think about debates around cybersecurity, climate change. Yeah, these are all very, very important global complex problems for which many different people have different views, and rules are changing. And some of the businesses are very proactive in attempting to influence those rules that would actually be to their advantage. But it's a very macro perspective, but with very micro level diplomatic steps that will teach you how to kind of influence both the kind of host country governments, but also at the international level as well. So there are lots of different empirical contexts that we'll go through, but that's the kind of basic idea. And then last but not least, the module 4 is about emerging markets. So one way of thinking about module 4 is that we'll introduce you to all kinds of frameworks and tools to use, and we can try and integrate quite a few of those to apply to a particular part of the market of the world, namely emerging markets. So it's in the beginning of thinking about integration and the learning points around that, but also at the beginning of thinking about what you want to write about in your final integrated assignment. So the final integrated assignment, which is a 6,000-word essay, is really your opportunity to write and maybe prescribe on a particular topic, an issue or problem that you're working on. Which it could be something at your workplace, it could be something that you want to move on to, but it's really your own piece of writing with some learning points around what you want to do. And so that's really the final piece of assignment. We will give you some time to work on that and then submit actually literally like over 12 months from now would be the deadline. So well after you start your first module. I think I'm probably going to not say too much about like assessments or reading lists, but maybe just one final word about the reading list. That once you have access to our on-site canvas, it's called, Joanna might say a bit more about, there'll be certain readings that I think my colleague and I have really thought carefully about assigning it to. So the idea here is that you obviously read, newspapers, magazines, whatever is out on the website, as well as maybe you're using GPT-4 to ask questions and inquisition, what the answers might be. But instead of doing that, we've selected a few items that we want you to digest really well, come prepared to the class so that we could actually have an in-depth discussion. So reading broadly is great. That's obviously something that you should continue to do. But actually digging deep into one or two pieces of writing so that you can share your thoughts and actually debate and disagree. Disagreement is really good, right? Because that actually hones your own perspective and your own thinking, but be open to other people's perspective as well. So hope that interactive discussion means that you don't come to an agreement or anything like that. I think you will probably clarify your own thinking on a particular issue in relation to others who may continue to hold different views. And that's really the basis for a great, period of learning that you committed to engaging yourself. So I know you have very different backgrounds. Some of you know a lot about business, others don't. A pure lawyer who wants to know about business, that's music to my ear. And there'll be other people who may have worked in public sector or other walks of life. And that richness in conversation, I think, comes from different stakeholder perspectives as well. Okay, so let me stop there, and I think I'm going to hand over to Joanna, and then we can get some Q&A going after that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mari. I'm just going to reshare the screen as we hand over to Joanna. Many of you had lots of reasons for attending, perhaps even, I don't know, lots of doubts and other reasons like that, but hopefully that helped solidify some of the reasons why you would like to attend the program. So there's a very important person I'd love to introduce you to now, which is the program manager, Joanna Francis. In many ways, I'm handing over the baton of responsibility over to Joanna. This is a very important presentation in terms of logistically preparing for attending next year. So please, Joanna, take it away.
Fantastic. Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna Francis, and I am your program manager for Diploma in Global Business. And here we've got a picture of our last cohort in Module 4 with their sweatshirts on Sweatshirt Saturday, confirming that they made it to the last day. Perfect. Next slide, please. So I'm now your main point of contact through the program, as Joe said, but there will be lots of other people helping you on your journey. We've got the assessment team, the library team, and the IT team, all of whom you will meet in Module 1, and they will always be there to help you in every step of your learning journey. Next slide, please. So as you know, we released the pre-reading about 4 weeks prior to the module, and then you'll come to Oxford for your 4 days, and then there'll be an assessment. And we will talk more about that in Module 1. So each module is 4 days. We generally start around 9 a.m. in the morning UK time and finish around 5:30 p.m. UK time. The first night, we will always have some kind of welcome event, either a drinks reception, and in the summer we'll be more adventurous and try some Oxford punting. We'll also do a college dinner, and we can discuss whether we want them to be black tie events or we can just rock up casual. Totally up to you to decide as a class. Next slide, please. As your program manager, I assist you with onboarding, induction, and navigation during your time at SBS, and we will be releasing your email accounts and access to Canvas in the middle of next week. I'm here to advise you on university policy and procedures, help you elect your class representatives who will work with me and the faculty to improve your Oxford experience. A few notes on what I can't do. I cannot bend university regulations, and believe it or not, I can't actually write your assignments for you. That has come up before. We're also around to help with logistics, so if you have any questions about hotels or fun things to do in Oxford, we're always here to offer some advice. Next slide, please. One of the more exciting bits about your Oxford journey is that you guys are lucky enough to be associates at Jesus College. It was founded in 1571 by Queen Elizabeth I at the request of a Welsh lawyer and clergyman. It's a truly beautiful college, and they will treat you like you are members of the college. And then when you graduate, you become alumni of Jesus College, and you're invited to all of their student events and later their alumni events, which are not only in Oxford, they're also worldwide. They have their own entrepreneurship community known as the Jesus Entrepreneurial Network, which you're able to join, and we're definitely going to go and visit them for an official welcome during your time on program. Next slide, please. Obviously, the main aim is to come out of this with a diploma, but there's also the whole other side, which is the Oxford experience. So you'll be networking with your peers and forming a community with them, but also with the wider Diploma 2024 class, and then the university itself. There are many places that you'll get to visit in Oxford: the Bodleian Library, the Convocation House, the Botanic Gardens, various museums, many of the Oxford colleges. We'll also be punting and going to the Perch, which is one of my favorite places in Oxford to go during the summer. I think that's probably about it for the Oxford experience. So I will hand back over to Joe.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Joanna. We're very conscious of bombarding you with information in these sessions. Joanna's provided an overview of her role as program manager and also of the different things you'll experience, perhaps even touched upon some of the complexities of this diploma, one being assessments, the other being access to the library, IT services. The reason we're not going into too much depth about those now is because you'll get formal introductions by each of those teams when you arrive in Oxford. And if not, Joanna will communicate with you about everything you need to do. Right at the end of this presentation, we have a slide that just clarifies the steps you can take between now and joining us in January. Everything else, in essence, you don't need to worry about too much, because we'll tackle that once you're in the lecture theatre in Oxford. But at this stage, you've heard from Murray, you've heard from Joanna. I'm sure you have some questions. It might be, though, that you are totally set and raring to go, but we just thought we would have some space in this meeting now for you to ask questions about any aspect of the programme or of joining the programme. We'll then move into a networking session where you can start to meet each other, but the chat is open, and equally, you're all there with the ability to unmute. And so if I stop sharing, if there was a particular question you had for myself, Mary, or Joanna, we would be very happy to answer them. We had one question from Jay. Thank you very much. Some more information about accommodation, where do the classes take place, and that sort of thing. Can I hand that one to you, Joanna?
Sure. So we will be having our classes in Quebec, the Thatcher building of Saïd Business School. It is right next to Oxford train station. And I can send you more information about that location and also accommodation suggestions in an email, which I will pop out after we finish here.
Thank you very much. Please, if anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. This is a chance. Any doubts that you have, any information you think that's missing, we would be very happy to help you at this stage.
Thanks, Joe. So I have so many questions. But one of the questions I had was, is there a formal dress code, or is it kind of just business casual?
business casual, but we have plenty of people rock up in jeans and trainers.
Thank you.
Yeah, just being comfortable, so that but as Joanna already said, with the college dinner, sometimes people do want to dress up, so it's a bit difficult to coordinate for the first module, or maybe this occasion the networking event might come to a conclusion on that already. But from module 2, it's up to you to just remain casual, business casual, or whether you want to do more of a dress up, black tie. Totally up to you. But during the class, I think you just wear whatever is comfortable, and yeah.
Hi guys. I think hi. Just a comment from me. I think. By the way, I'm Al Hadi. I live in not so sunny London, and I work in business development. Interestingly, I'm sure side you will find for a law firm, so I can already see synergies there, I'm sure. And I really look forward to meeting you all and learning from you, and taking all the learnings from the lecturers and Mari and whoever else is going to be interacting with us in this program. So very excited, and I look forward to the journey.
Great. Yeah, great to hear from you, Hadi. And just to let you know that the first case study that we'd asked you to read is about a law firm. So there you are.
No pressure.
Business aspect of law firm, maybe, but...
Any other particular questions at this stage, perhaps between now and January, how to prepare, or if anything wasn't clear, feel free.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Zhao. Good to see you.
Hi, nice to meet you again. I have still some question. I'm waiting for my second bill that I expected this come, so 8 weeks before that the program start. And also waiting for the university card form. Should I contact the admission team, or this is also a question for today's session that I can get a little bit information?
So I can answer the question. I think was about the payment. So anything related to payments, invoicing, that is the admissions team.
Okay.
I think I've provided the email to most of you, diploma.admissions@sbs.org.uk.
Okay.
That's the one to continue to use. Regarding the university card form and things like that, Joanna, could you just walk people through what the process is for all of that, please?
University card form you should have received in your offer pack from the admissions team.
Okay.
I can get in contact with them and check, because they can send it up again.
They have said that because I have already handed over more than, I think, almost 2 months or more than 1 month, and I'm still waiting for. And they say that for our diploma program, I mean, global business, it is still not started.
So the card itself becomes active during the first module, and we'll receive them in Oxford.
Okay.
So we'll hand them out then.
Okay. Because it's already so next month, I still don't have any information.
You will very soon.
Okay.
We're sending out more information next week.
Another question. So do we need to plan 1 more days before or after that? Or it depends on us? So is this kind of, I mean, what is needed is only this 4 days, right?
Joanna, you're on mute.
Oh.
A lot of people will turn up a few days before
Mm-hmm.
and stay 1 or 2 days afterwards because they really enjoy Oxford. They want to socialize, they want to study in the Bodleian. But ultimately, totally up to you. As long as you're there for those 4 days, however you do it.
But the program needs 4 days.
The program needs 4 days.
Understand, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think there'll be a diversity of how you arrive and depart during the first module, but from module 2 onwards, you'll perhaps get into a habit with forming, study groups, people who are based in London or people who fly through Dubai that you can meet in Dubai airport or whatever. So there'll be different groupings where you might want to arrive together if you want to study together before the module or revise together after the module. And obviously it's, depending on what your work schedule allows as well, but if you are able to hang around a little bit before and after, I think most people find that very beneficial. And also between modules as well, it's not like very intensive in terms of 4 modules a year. So you have quite a few weeks in between, and more likely than not, you guys are going to self-organize to virtually meet or physically meet between for the benefit of your learning.
Maybe a question for Joanna on that. Could we then have a kind of flexibility from eGroove accommodation? Because that's the key thing. If we have a flexibility, then we can book 1 or 2 days before and 1 or 2 days after, depending on the need, basically.
Yeah, eGrove absolutely is an accommodation option. They are 2.5 miles outside of the city center, but it's easy to get into the city center. There are plenty of buses, taxis, and some people actually bring bikes and cycle in.
Yeah, I've been there before. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
For those that aren't aware, well, Sadhu, I was very fortunate to attend a program in Oxford earlier this year. He refers to a place called eGrove Park, which is another site at the Side Business School, which, as Joanna says, is a short while outside of the centre. I used to live very near it, and it's a very pleasant cycle ride, FYI. But there are options within the university for accommodation. You can even stay in a college, even Jesus College. I'll highlight at this point that you will be in student accommodation, so perhaps not as luxurious as other hotels, but there are many external hotel options as well. And there's a document that myself and Joanna can send you that outlines some of those and some corporate rates we have with hotels.
Just in that, Joseph, thank you for sharing that. I try to use the links that were in the document that shared. I don't know if that's a different document that you'll be sharing now, but the links didn't seem to work. So yeah, I'm not sure about that. The other question I had was around the careers office. Can we contact them now? Because I understand setting up meetings with counselors or advisors they're quite in demand, so there's like availability, and because we're there for such a short period of time, we may not be able to see them. Is there any way we can get in touch with them ahead of schedule?
Joanna, can you just outline what students can do before they arrive and what's limited to after they've arrived?
With the careers team, I would actually have to check. I'm not 100% sure of that answer, but I will find out and let you know, Jay. Write that down.
And regarding the links in the PDF, that's a good flag. Maybe we should double check that they still work. Thank you very much. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, we have a couple of minutes for any final questions. They include questions perhaps about the course itself and the module outline which Murray shared. If any of you had any particular thoughts or questions on the course itself. Equally, anyone with any logistical questions, please ask them away over the next couple of minutes.
Hello, I'm Isabella.
Hi, Isabella.
Hi, I have just a question about the first module, if there is any pre-reading recommendation.
Of course. So I'm not sure whether, Isabella, you have access to the reading list yet, but once you have access, then there will be a curated reading list with some description of the session and sometimes some questions to be thinking about before you come to the class as you read. So hopefully that would give you enough guidance as to how you should digest the material on the reading list. On one level, it might seem a lot to digest because you work full time and you got to basically allocate time to really do the readings and just the preparing. But I think the quality of the interaction and the conversation that we're going to be having in the classroom depends very much on the amount of commitment you make individually to be prepared. So I hope that you can all come reasonably well prepared. I mean, there are times when you're very busy and you might not be able to devote as much time. That's totally fine, but I think you should definitely digest the basics of the essential readings. And then there'll be some background and further readings as well, which you might want to do after the program module. Some people do it before, but so think of the essential readings as the minimum that you should read before you arrive,
Okay.
and then you could touch on the further readings, maybe during the program or after the program as part of your revision.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi everyone. I just wanted to say hello before I log off. I'm sorry. I'm Nizam from Malaysia. I'm currently dialing in from Dubai, attending COP28. I've been very quiet because I've been speaking quite a bit today. Not entirely sure to what end, but anyway, thank you very much for this session. I think it's been very useful, Joseph and Professor Murray. Looking forward to meet everyone in Oxford. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us, Nizam. Sending our best wishes to Dubai.
Bye. Look forward to your learnings from our COP discussion into the class.
Indeed. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Brilliant. Okay, I think with the remainder of the session, we will now move into a networking activity. A big moment of feedback from last year's session was that the class would have loved the chance to chat to each other. So here we are. You can blame last year's class if this is not something that you want to do. But before Mari Sacco is leaving us, so thank you so much for your input, Mari. You'll all get to know Professor Sacco very well from January onwards. Thank you so much for your input. Enjoy the rest of your day. But for the rest of us, if you are able to stay, then we are going to divide you into 2 breakout rooms at random. There's a task to do in each room, which I'll share in a moment. Yeah, Murray, thank you very much. Do you have any closing remarks before you leave the call?
Not really, no. Thank you. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you face to face. So have a great break. Happy holidays. And I'll see you in late January. Bye for now.
All right, thank you. Okay, let me reshare my screen. Now, some of you may have attended a recent community networking event that we did, and you would have had the chance to meet people from other diplomas. This is your chance to meet your class. And so if you are able to, if you could all turn your cameras on, you'll be very shortly put into 2 breakout rooms divided into half, and each of you will have a task. Of course, you can ignore the task and just get to know each other if you want, but this can help you guide the conversation. So in this grid, we have a number of things which may apply to each of you, and they are prompts, some of them more formal, some of them a bit less formal. And between the 2 rooms, we'll see which group can fill the most grids, and you get an extra point, as it were, if you can put more than one of you, if one of these boxes applies to you. So this will be shown in the room. Marta, my colleague, is going to put everyone into rooms, and we've allowed 10 minutes for this. So I would recommend when you're in the room, just introduce yourself, perhaps where you're from, a brief summary of your role, and then hopefully you can start to get to know each other before the program. So then, of course, if you need to, if you need to leave the call now, you're very welcome to, but I thought this would be a wonderful opportunity for you to network. So if we could start the breakout rooms for 10 minutes, that would be wonderful. Thank you very much.